Hello, I'm just going to demonstrate and walk you through creating a really basic web page using Notepad++, which you should have installed already. If you haven't done so, then go and watch the video on how to install Notepad++. Or if you've installed Atom, go and watch the video on how to do this in Atom. Okay, so let's start up Notepad++. It should be on your desktop hopefully. And you should see something like this when it starts up. Now this is just a text editor, so we can type all sorts of types of text into here. We're going to use it to type in HTML, hypertext markup language, the language which is used to create the content of web pages. Now first of all, I can zoom in a little bit here, which I find quite useful. So there are various ways. I'm going to just do, excuse me, I'm just going to zoom in like this, but you can use, if you've got a mouse, you can hold down like Control and the scroll wheel on your mouse, or I can see the shortcut here is Control and plus on the number pad. Okay, so I'm zooming a little bit there, and what I like to do straight away is save my file before I even get going, just so I know it's got a name, it's got a place to save. Now let's just come out of it. I should have done this first. I did last time, I forgot to do it. Let's talk a moment about file management. We need to keep our files well organized, so that means keeping them in a sensible place, grouped together in sensible ways. It means giving them sensible names so that we know what they are. So what I'm going to suggest you do is you go and create a folder to store your websites in. Okay, so I just did one here earlier. The way you do it is, well, there are various ways of doing it, but you can right click and then new folder. Okay, so I've already done one called my example websites. I just did it on the desktop for the purpose of this, but you do it wherever you store your documents, in your documents folder or wherever. And in there, let me just go into it. You can see I've done an example using a different text editor already, so I'm going to right click and do new folder, and I'm going to call this S1 Notepad. I'm not going to put ++ because generally you want to avoid symbols as much as possible in your file names and folder names. Dashes and underscores are acceptable. Pretty much everything else I would just avoid. Just leave it out if you can. It can cause problems. It causes the computer to get a little bit confused. So Notepad example site. Okay. Notice there's a new folder button up there as well. So inside here, this is where I'm going to store all of the files for my website, and every website you make, you're gonna create a folder and all the files for it will go in there. Okay, so it's empty at the moment. Let's just minimize that and nip back to Notepad. So I should have done that first. Doesn't make a difference. Now let's save this. So I like to save it right at the start, just so that it's got a file name and everything. So you can go to File and Save or Save As. Just Control S is the shortcut for saving. Okay, so just get into the habit of doing that. I've saved this already, or haven't got anything saved rather. So save, go to wherever you need to save this. Mine's on the desktop, so navigate to the correct location. I had a folder called whatever it was called, my example websites, and then it was in here. Now get this bit right. Get it all right, but get this bit right. Let's give it a file name. I'm going to call it home because the first page on a website is normally referred to as the home page, the page you arrive at. But you can see it's going to save it as a normal text file. Well, I'm not creating a normal text file. I'm creating an HTML file, hypertext markup language, a web page. So I need to change this. If you click on there You can see these are in pretty much alphabetical order, so scroll down a little bit and you will see one that says Hypertext Markup Language. Okay, click on that. It should come up here and it'll automatically add on this .html there. Just leave that, click Save, and you're done. And this is handy and worth noticing. Up the top here, it shows me the file path, shows me where I'm saving this. So in my example website, in the S1 Notepad example site folder, and it's called home.html. I can see that here too. Okay, so that's just worth checking that you're saving in the right place and so on. Okay, so now we're going to start creating a web page. Let's just start typing and then I'll explain a couple of things. So on the first line, I want you to do the less than symbol, which is next to M on the keyboard, or certainly is on mine, and then exclamation mark, doc type, so type it exactly like this, and then a space, and then HTML, and then a greater than symbol, which is just next to the less than one. Okay, so it should look like that. Hit return, and on the next line I want you to do less than HTML greater than. Now it's turned that blue because it recognizes that is start of something important, and then press return a few times, doesn't matter quite how many, and do less than. This is going to be a little bit different. We're going to do a forward slash. So the one that slopes that way to the right is a forward slash. It's just next to the less than and left than keys on my keyboard, and then HTML and a greater than sign. So let's take a look at what we've got here. These are called tags. Okay, and the HTML language consists of tags. Tags tell the browser how to display a web page. So the way this is going to work is we're going to create a web page here by typing in what we want to appear on the web page and by using tags to tell the browser how to display it. And then we're going to view it in our browser. We'll be viewing our page in our browser, and the browser will use the tags to display it correctly. Okay, so these things inside a less than and a greater than symbol, that's called an HTML tag. Okay, and we've got opening tags and closing tags. Hopefully you can spot the difference. That is, a closing tag has this little forward slash just at the start of it, just before it says HTML. Okay, so this is an opening tag and a closing tag, and this is an HTML element just in between these. Okay, so what have we got here? We're going to start all our web pages, all our HTML documents, with this, always the same. And that basically just tells the browser this is an HTML document, because the browser can deal with all sorts of document types. This is an HTML document. This tells it here's where the HTML is going to start, and this tells it the HTML is now finished. Okay, so everything else we do on the web page, this HTML document is going to go in between these tags here. It has to. Don't put anything outside those tags. So we're going to type a couple more tags now. Now, just a bit further, I'm just taking a line space. It has to be between the opening and the closing HTML. So less than, head, greater than. Okay, that's an opening tag. And now I'm going to close that. So maybe you can work out what I'm about to type. Less than, forward slash, head, greater than. Okay, so we've got an opening tag and a closing tag. opening head tag, closing head tag. We'll explain that a bit in a moment. Notice, by the way, when I click on a tag, it highlights it, and it also highlights the corresponding opening or closing tag. When I click on this, highlights the corresponding one. That's helpful because we need to pay a lot of attention to detail when we're doing this. If I miss out a slash, it all goes wrong. If I miss out one of these, it all goes wrong. It doesn't work properly. So attention to detail is important, and these little things in Notepad++ can help us identify errors. Now, a bit further down, you can take a line space. It doesn't matter. Blank lines don't matter at all here. We're going to do an opening body tag. Now, notice it pops up with things as well. If you want, you can click on these things that pop up. It'll save you making typing errors. Okay, and then the greater than symbol. And just underneath it, we're going to close the body tag. So less than / body. Then close it. So again, there's that. Now, these are inside the HTML element. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just highlight them, and I'm going to press the tab key. That's the one above caps lock. Okay, tab. And it just pushes them in a little bit. That's called indenting them, pushing them in. And it just makes it a bit clearer that, look, here's the start and the end of the HTML, and these are inside it. You can see clearly they're inside it there. Okay, so every HTML document has a head and a body. The head, just like your head, is always above the body. There's only one head and there's only one body. So every HTML document will have a single head, and then beneath it there'll be a single body element. Okay, a head element and a body element. And they're all inside the HTML element. So all your pages are going to have this basic structure. They're always going to have this, and then we're going to add more for different pages. Okay. Now, I'm going to add a little bit more in here. So just before the head section, I'm going to type a less than symbol, and then, excuse me, an exclamation mark, dash dash. Oh, you can see it's changing colour and things. It's trying to work out what I'm doing, what I'm in the middle of. And then I can type whatever I want, because what I'm about to put in here is a comment. A comment is just a little note to myself. It's not going to appear on the web page or anything like that. It's just a little note that I'll see in the code, a little reminder what things are for. So I'm going to explain now what these two elements are for. The head element is where we put information that is not going to appear on the web page. Okay, so I'm just going to put stuff in the head. Now it doesn't. I can write whatever I want here. Stuff in the head doesn't appear on the page, and then I put 2 dashes and a greater than symbol. Okay, so this is the start of a comment, the start of a little note to myself. So always like that, less than, exclamation mark, dash dash, a bit fiddly, and I type whatever I like. I don't have to worry about spelling or anything like that in this bit. It's just a little note to myself, like scribbling a little note, and then 2 dashes and the greater than symbol. Okay. If I misspell these things, the tags, then there's a problem. And you can see it doesn't go blue, it doesn't recognize it in the same way. It's turned this green because that's what it's set to do. If it recognizes that I've put a comment in, it turns it green, just to help me see what's going on with my code, make it a bit more readable. Okay, so I'm pressing tab here. Now I took a blank line. You don't need to take a blank line, you can take a few blank lines, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to do a comment here as well. So less than, exclamation mark, dash dash. Everything we put in the body section will appear in the page, on the page. Okay, so The body is where put stuff we want to see on the page. You might still be wondering, why would we want stuff that doesn't appear on the page? Well, we'll come to that. Okay, so you can type a little comment to yourself there. Remember to finish it. If I forget to do that little bit at the end, like, it thinks, oh, this is part of the comment, and so none of this will, anything after it won't appear on the page. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is add a bit of stuff to our page then. Okay. So I'm going to put stuff inside the body. So everything that you want to see on your web page, everything that you want to see goes in between opening and closing body tags, never anywhere else. Okay. It's a simple rule. If you want to see it on your web page, you put it between these. Now let's just put something. Now I'm going to show again that it's inside the body what I'm typing. I'm going to press tab again here just to push it in, indent it a bit. My example website, that'll do. This is my first page. Exciting stuff. Now, by the way, don't worry, this is just on your computer. It's not actually going on to the web. It's not appearing on the web, it's just on your computer. Just because we're going to look at it in a browser doesn't mean it's on the web. Okay. Now, notice up here, this little icon's red. That's just Notepad++'s way of telling you that you haven't saved. You've made changes you haven't saved. So I'm just doing Control S. If you don't like Control S, you can go File and Save in here. But again, it's a good habit to get into, just tapping Control S regularly. Okay, now how do we look at this? Well, there are a couple of ways. In Notepad++, we've got the Run menu, and I'd encourage you just to use this. So go to the Run menu, and you can see I can launch in, and it's got various browsers listed here. Now I'm using Chrome, so I'm going to launch in Chrome. But if you're using Internet Explorer or Firefox or whatever, you can click on them. Launch in Chrome. So that means I want to load it up in Chrome. I want to see how the HTML is rendered. So launch in Chrome. And here we go. Bang. Pretty exciting stuff. I'm just going to zoom in a bit so you can see that. Pretty amazing, eh? Might not be appearing quite as you expected it to appear, having looked at the code. So I'm going to change it a little bit. So we're using the browser to view our web page. If I go back to my text editor, Notepad++, this is where I edit it. So the problem is that the browser ignores blank lines. That's one problem anyway. It ignores taking new lines, so carriage returns we call them. It ignores blank lines. So I thought this was going to appear, or rather I didn't, because I know it wasn't, but perhaps you thought this was going to appear one line and then beneath it another. Well, it ignores the fact of taking a new line there. But this is what we use other tags for. So we can put HTML tags and their instructions telling how to display things. So round this bit, I'm going to put a new tag, H1. So that's a 1 I've just typed, not an L, H1. And it's short for heading 1. So that is the start of a heading there. This is saying, okay, from after this point, after this tag, everything's a heading. But then further along, I'm going to put a closing heading tag, closing H1 tag, so it's got the / in it. So that says, okay, that's the end of the heading. Okay. I'm going to go and have a look at that in the browser, see if it's changed things. Now, it hasn't at all. Why has it not changed things? Well, I forgot to save it, didn't I? So let's just save, Control S. Let's go back to the browser Oh, what? It still hasn't changed. That's because it's still looking at the page I loaded up before, the version I loaded up before. So what I need to do is reload or refresh in some browsers. Reload this page. So if I click on that, there. So now it's using the H1 tags as an instruction to display that as a heading. Okay? So every time I make a change, or I want to make a change, what I'm going to do is just go to Notepad++, make a change, save it, go back to my browser, and refresh, reload. Okay? So we'll explain, let's put in a little comment here. So exclamation mark dash dash, a little note to ourselves. H1 is for heading 1. Okay, so basically we'll talk more about headings at a later point. It can go all the way up to H6. It basically will automatically display it a bit bigger and bolder. Okay, now this bit, it'll display this, but maybe I want to display it in a particular way. So I'm going to put tags around here. P tag. So I'm going to say this is the start of the P element, and then afterwards this is the end of the P element. Okay, and P tag, you might be able to guess, is short for paragraph. So I'm going to put a little comment in here. P is for paragraph. So notice all my comments, the bits that are appearing in green, they don't appear on the page. They're just there for my benefit when I'm looking at the code. Just little notes to myself. So a paragraph, just whenever it comes across a paragraph element, it'll automatically take a new line as you do when you're starting a new paragraph. Okay. So again, make sure I save my changes. Control S. There we go. And back here, refresh. We don't see any difference there. It's just a paragraph. It was doing it anyway because at the end of an H1, at the end of a heading, it'll take a new line. So I'm going to put a couple of blank lines in there. Blank lines get completely ignored by the browser. We just put them in to make the code a bit easier to read. Yeah, I hope you agree. It's reasonably easy to see what's going on there. And again, I can see there's my HTML element. Inside it, there's a head element and a body element. And inside that, I've used my indentation to show it. I've got an H1 element and a P element. Now, there should only ever be on your page one pair of HTML tags. And inside them there should be one pair of head tags, and then there should be one pair of body tags. But in the body you can put as many H1s as you want, as many rather pairs of H1 tags, as many H1 elements, and you can put as many P elements as you like. Now I'm going to just demonstrate one last thing. I think let's look at the head. We said stuff in the head doesn't appear on the page. You might wonder why on earth we'd put stuff there. Well, I'll demonstrate one tag that we can put in the head section. So it's going to be in the head section, in the head element. So I'm going to use tab just to indent, and I'm going to put title tags. Okay, so title now, I'm just going to type example. And then I'm going to close the title tags. So don't forget that /. Now, if you put the / in the wrong place, like at the end, it's not going to work. If you forget it, it's not going to work properly. If you put a /, it's not going to work properly. Okay? /. Now, let's save that and see if you can spot what it's doing. So Control S, back to the browser, refresh, see if you can spot what it does. So So it doesn't make any change to what's on the page. So everything below this line here is the web page. But what it does do is change what it says in the browser tab up here. Sorry, that screen recorder is coming up. Changes what it says up here. Okay, now it says example. So that is what the title tag is for. So there's only one browser tab for the page. So there should only be one title element. And it doesn't appear on the actual page itself, so it has to go in the head section. So I'm going to put a little comment in about that. So !mark dash dash title changes what it says in the browser tab. Okay, and I will save that. I think that's about all for now in terms of the basics. You can play about with this a little bit excuse me, and just remember this basic idea of edit in Notepad++, save it, then go to your browser. So only the first time that you need to do this run bit. Okay, don't do that every time. Then just go to your browser and reload the page. Okay, and it'll load it up. Attention to detail. Use the fact that it turns the tags blue. Okay. Try to remember to keep this basic structure. Doc type at the start, then your HTML element, and inside that a head and a body. Head, for now, all we've looked at is you can put a title inside there. Body, we add anything we want to appear on the page. At the moment you can put as many H1s, Ps, you can experiment up to H6 for now. And by a common point of confusion is that titles, the browser tab, headings are what we see on the page. Okay, good luck for now. I'll leave you to it. See ya.